On March 1st, 2024, Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama unfortunately passed away. His death was felt by millions around the world, including many friends and fans alike. Among those were his collaborator and illustrator on Dragon Ball Super, Toyotaro, who had this to say following his passing: "I was drawing manga because I wanted to be praised by Mr. Toriyama. It was my everything." It's safe to say Toyotaro takes his job as Toriyama's creative successor very seriously. Following Toriyama's death, the Dragon Ball Super manga was put on an indefinite hiatus, with many fans speculating legal drama behind the scenes could mean the permanent end of the manga. But what if I told you Akira Toriyama's death doesn't have to be the end of Dragon Ball Super? In fact, this could all lead up to a new beginning. Now I know what some of you are saying, but Toon Raider, Dragon Ball should die with Toriyama. And for sure, that's a valid opinion, but that doesn't mean it's the only opinion with merit. After all, Toriyama himself wasn't done with Super. There was still plenty left he had to cook with Toyotaro. After Toriyama's death, tons of fans came out and said Super needed to end as soon as possible, saying there just was no story left to tell. And that's mainly what this video is about. Today, we're going to be looking at what I think could be the final 3 arcs of Dragon Ball Super before we're pushed into the future with more fresh, new content. Now, before we begin, I want to make something clear. This video is basically how I would pitch these in a room of writers. This is not a what-if style video. These are just rough outlines and ideas of where the story would head. And keep in mind, these are just theories and speculation, so don't take this as fact. With all that said, let's dive into the main meat of today's video, the future of Dragon Ball Super. First, it's obvious that, following up the superhero arc, we need to focus on Black Frieza as the main villain. Not just that, but with an ever-expanding cast of heroes, Frieza will need backup. Since Goku has Vegeta, Broly, Gohan, Piccolo, Goten, and Trunks on his team, it seems only fair for Frieza to rope in other characters to his team, such as Cooler. Now, you could have Cooler be Frieza's brother, cousin, or distant relative, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you do a Broly-esque reinvention of the Cooler character, making him on par with the main cast. The general plot would follow Frieza destroying all the gods of the multiverse in his quest to dominate all life, as he alluded to in the Tournament of Power. In order to pull this off, he'd need some gateway in order to do so. Cue the Demon Realm and Warp Sama. Warp Sama can essentially transport Frieza anywhere so he could do anything. Eventually, with enough gods killed, Beerus would catch wind of this, but he'd be too late. Frieza would arrive on Earth during a peaceful birthday party or something like that, where our main cast of characters are casually gathered. With their guard down, Frieza zones in on Supreme Kai, killing him and Beerus both in the process. Theoretically, this next part would be much longer to fit in an arc, but because this is an outline, I'll make it brief. Goku, Vegeta, and Broly would have to fight and lose against Frieza. In a last-ditch effort, the 3 of them, as well as Gohan, Piccolo, Goten, Trunks, and the rest of the main cast would retreat far away, gather up energy, and get the training. In the meantime, Frieza continues his rampage unabated across the multiverse. This part of the story would be the training arc, something we haven't had in Dragon Ball in too long. You have a strong focus on Gohan, Goten, and Trunks, making sure to grant Goten and Trunks Super Saiyan God at the very least. More training sessions between the Saiyans and Piccolo would really hype fans up for the final fight. During this time, Cooler has re-emerged and is reconnecting with Frieza. The 2 of them seem invincible. And when the final fight comes, it's close. Goku, Vegeta, and Broly are fighting neck and neck against Frieza. At the same time, Gohan and Piccolo are wearing down Cooler. During all this, it would make sense that Goten and Trunks would be fused into adult Gotenks and running through Frieza's army. Maybe they'd hop in to help out with the Cooler fight too. In the end, it's a close fight, but Vegeta, Goku, and Broly all died to take Frieza out, with Vegeta getting the final hit using Hakai, destroying Frieza permanently. Meanwhile, Gohan and Piccolo barely managed to kill Cooler. Everyone is distraught that Goku, Vegeta, and Broly died in the fight, but that doesn't have to be the end. The Super Dragon Balls are mentioned, and our next quest begins. It's often stated the Saiyans of Universe 6 were forgotten, but what if there was an arc in which Piccolo, Trunks, and Goten traveled there to enlist their help? In this story, they'd have control over 6 of the 7 Super Dragon Balls and would cooperate with the young Saiyans of Universe 7 to help restore order in their universe amidst the chaos of losing their God of Destruction in return for the use of these Super Dragon Balls. You may be wondering where Gohan and Pan are. They're on Earth, guarding it in case a new threat emerges. This way, we take a small break from them until the next arc and put a strong focus on Goten and Trunks. While this arc is the least fleshed out of the 3 I'm presenting, the idea is clear. Earning the Super Dragon Balls from the Universe 6 Saiyans by helping them against a powerful threat that Goten, Trunks, and Piccolo would struggle against. Goten would experience a ton of character growth during this arc, which would end with him and Trunks unlocking Super Saiyan Blue. At the conclusion, the Super Dragon Balls are used to resurrect everyone killed by Black Frieza. Only, there's one problem. It's revealed gods of destruction cannot be brought back to life due to their status of beings of pure Hakai energy. Okay, this wouldn't have to be the explanation, but ideally for this story to work, Beerus would stay dead or retired for this next arc. The final third arc I would do would have to be set shortly after the end of Z, because we'd skip retelling the end of Z entirely. I know I've said before you would need to redo it, but you honestly don't. Just to a quick scene set after Oob flies away with Goku, explaining that Goku took Oob to train him to be the next God of Destruction to replace Beerus. Oob, because of his God Ki and connection to Majin Buu, will be a good fit for the role with the right training. Goku can teach him the basics, then Whis could teach him the more complex stuff later. But whatever the reason for Goku training Oob, this final arc will work regardless. Dragon Ball originally ended with a tournament, so how fitting would it be if Super ended with a tournament? Set 7 or 8 years after the previous on-screen tournament, the 30th World Martial Arts Tournament would be one full of drama and intrigue. Pan would be around 13 years old and trained by none other than Piccolo. Bitter over her grandfather leaving her during her childhood years ago, she enters the tournament to prove herself against the now 18-year-old Oob, who has himself entered the tournament under the guidance of Son Goku. Any good tournament needs drama, which is why the rivalry built between Pan and Oob would be legendary. This would be helped, of course, by flashbacks of their masters Piccolo and Goku destroying the tournament arena in the years past. Ideally, Pan and Oob aren't the only tournament participants. You could bring back many characters and create many new ones. Goten and Trunks could compete but put a handicap on themselves, not allowing themselves to go Super Saiyan. I could also see young characters like Bola getting into fighting, though I don't think she'd be on the level of Pan or Oob. Regardless of how many characters are built up throughout this tournament, it's important that Oob and Pan must fight in the finals. Pan, angry at the loss of her grandfather's attention at such a young age, would allow her anger to guide her. Meanwhile, Oob would remember Goku's own rude comments toward him as a child, and make his own insults toward Pan to draw out her hidden strength. In the end, Pan unlocks Super Saiyan and Oob shows he's already transcended to a new form exclusive to him, a Majin form. Fully unleashing his godlike power, he defeats the enraged Pan. Pan accepts that Goku training Oob was for the best, and learns to let go of her anger, helping her master her transformation. After the battle concludes, Pan is able to finally have a heart-to-heart with Piccolo and Goku, and they all decide they must have a family movie night at least once a week. This would create a new core group, Piccolo and Goku, who are the masters, and Pan and Oob, the students. That's right, Super would end with a look toward the future, and that's when the new series would begin, a show primarily focused on the next generation of heroes. Gohan, Goten, and Trunks would be your main Saiyan trio in the style of Goku, Vegeta, and Broly, while Pan and Oob would train and better themselves for the battles ahead, similar to how we saw Gohan grow up throughout the Dragon Ball Z series. I know this was a different kind of video and definitely not the scripted out what-ifs you guys are used to from other people. For this one, it was mainly just a rough outline just to show for fans who think there is no story left to tell. I thought of at least 3 arcs that could fit within the theme of Super to conclude it. If Super actually is announced to come back, I have full confidence in Toyotaro to continue the story in only the way he knows how. But enough of that. You tell me how you think Super will end in the comments below. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe for more videos like this, and I will see you in the next one. Peace off.